I'd like to start with thank you to the SKLP team and Dr. Sunil for inviting me to talk about my experience on mental health during and after loss of my son, Kavi. I think there are three main components we all possess, the body, mind, and intellect. Body is means through which we physically interact with the world. The mind is that which governs the feeling and the emotions part of oneself. The mind wanders and lacks consistency of purpose in life. It's just like a monkey. And if uncontrolled, can make hell out of a relatively peaceful mind when it experiences an event. Uncontrolled emotions lead a person to a disinterest in life and eventually leading to depression. Quite often, agitated mind finds temporary comfort in constant increased intake of harmful coping mechanisms. Therefore, it is very difficult to get out of depression, which can lead to total destruction of one's life. An example of this is an increase in alcohol consumption in our current climate of lockdown. Third part is the intellect, which judges, thinks, reflects, and makes decisions. With a powerful intellect, one finds himself relatively in peace, no matter what one experiences. I have studied many books on Vedanta philosophy, which have helped me to stay steadfast after the loss of my son Kavi. The feeling and emotions will be there for rest of the life, and only time will heal. What I try not to entertain is my mind is being emotional in the positive or negative way. I think we never imagine the death of our child before us. Well, this is a sad part of life. Who knows what happens in the future? Loss of a close relative or friend, always very painful. I had COVID when Kavi was taken to hospital with a mild stroke caused by COVID. I did not have the energy to get up from the bed to give him encouragement before he was taken to hospital. This later haunted me when I got better. While I was in bed, I had a feeling of my death, but I just kept chanting God's name, irrespective of what thought came into my mind. I usually managed to sleep. My wife remembers seeing my son off in an ambulance. She had spent a few days before nursing him, but his condition had started to worsen. There was an urge to go with him, but she was not allowed due to COVID. Her last words to him were, "I will see you soon." By the evening, the doctors rang to ask for permission to put him on a ventilator. Faced with no other options, we gave consent. As soon as my energy levels improved, so did my agitations of the mind as to the well-being of Kavi. At first, when Kavi went to hospital, we were getting 2 phone calls a day. We at this point did not know what sort of questions to ask, but soon learned how the patient's conditions was assessed, oxygen levels, amount of support for the body, infection markers, and so on. Soon as more and more patients were admitted into the hospital, we would get only one call, and anxiety levels increased as we waited for this call. I started ringing all the doctors and pharmacists I knew for advice and researching on the possible medications. No one had any suggestions. During Kavi's time at hospital, I hesitantly rang Dr. Sunil and expressed my worries and anxiety. He quietly listened to my concerns and informed me that I should not worry because Harefield Hospital is one of the best in the country, and they will do everything they could and wouldn't give up irrespective of all the pressures they go through. Dr. Sunil, I thank you for being approachable and quietening my mind. After reflection and reasoning, I decided to have faith with consultants. With over 20 years of experience before they carry out any decisions, I addressed the anxiety in my mind, past and the future, with my intellect by reviewing each one individually and looking at it with logic and reasoning, and not suppressing my mind. The anxiety subsided and I could think much more clearly. In this way, I encouraged my family to do the same and not worry about Kavi's from Sunil's uplifting words of having faith in the doctor, and the fact that the outcome of Kavi's fate is not in our hands but in God's. Also, our friends provided us with lots of support by ringing us and going for walks, discussing the situation. By talking and understanding the situation, it provided relief. Time went very quickly. Kavi was improving slowly. Towards the end of the time, the infection levels increased suddenly over 2 days. We were contacted by the hospital to pre-warn imminent heart failure with a vicious cycle of increased support and his body unable to fight infection. On his final day, we were allowed to visit the hospital. However, only my wife was allowed to enter the ICU unit to see him. It felt like we were in a bad dream. Though visiting the hospital helped us to accept that his time was truly up. When we returned from hospital, it was like waiting in a limbo, and when I felt the urge to call and ask the doctors to try every last thing they could. Despite this, it still haunted me for months after as to whether we as a parents had done enough. The 3 of us were in the house when the call came to say he passed. We hugged each other. I remember my wife said to my son that it was okay to cry. We embraced our emotions and cried heavily. It is okay for everybody to cry sometimes. It left the whole family shocked that life could end so fast within a matter of hours. Being there for each other, sharing the pain, we felt helped to go through. Close family rushed to our support, and having them near again helped lessen the feeling of being alone. There was a lot of tears in between it all. We were definitely popped up by our family and friends to get through the Zoom prayers and the funeral, all under lockdown. I cannot thank our family and friends enough for taking care of things and being there for us. We were truly blessed. We kept busy with the lockdown, keeping our mind occupied, not letting the mind wander. It was a hot summer, but the coldness of the house felt very real. A constant reminder that something was missing. We all kept busy, carrying out our obligation in life. I felt good by keeping my mind busy, by getting involved in raising funds, helping deliver food to old people and hospital. Faith in God kept us going strong. Friends and family rallied around, including all our neighbors. Each of us has to deal with death in our own way, but talking to friends and families and understanding that everyone comes to pass made our mind steady, making sure that we have a chance to grieve and discuss our emotion is so hard to do. In short, the tragedy of my son passing away has made us feel a lot humbler to appreciate life and show us what things are truly important. It also showed us what we should value and ultimately brought us closer to people. We thank God for the happiness, health He has provided and many positive aspects of life. It saddens me to see people not wanting to take vaccination and not follow the government guidelines. Above all, what has given me the strength is the development of my intellect, the ability to logically reason and think, which has been aided by consistent study over the past 10 years. After the funeral, my wife made a conscious choice to live life, even though it was going to be mentally tough, and not give in totally to grief. You can't help what you feel, but you do have the ability by using your intellect to control how you deal with emotions, to cope or reflect to your feelings. Just as a banks of a river, keeping the water channel flowing in the right direction. There is a constant battle between that which feels and that which reasons. Sometimes it can be a big battle, especially with negative emotions. Those which cause us pain or anxiety, but reasoning with these over time builds strength in one's character and allows us to stay steadfast in turbulent times. This is something not often taught in school or university, but something that is crucial in finding peace in day-to-day life. We often say we have limited time, and that is not in our hands as to when it will be up. It makes our family remember that life is a precious gift, and the time we have should be used wisely, and time together should be treasured.